The younger son attempted to marry his brother's fiancée after having an affair with her, but the family broke up with him. He accuses us of wrecking his life now that he is by himself. I've always thought of my family as loving. Me, M55, my wife Sophia, F50, and our two boys Jared, M28, and Nathan, M25, make up my family. Throughout our lives, my spouse and I have endeavored to provide a nice home for the children, instilling in them what we believe to be moral principles and qualities. The whole family has been ripped apart by something so wicked and devastating that I can't help but question whether our parenting may have contributed to it. Jared and Nathan shared a wonderful bond from the beginning. While it wasn't always perfect, the bond between the siblings was similar to any other. They each had their fair share of memories, rivalry, and secrets. Sophia and I believe that they were quite sturdy. Although Nathan did occasionally act envious of Jared, I dismissed it as typical brother behavior. My spouse was in agreement with me, and we never gave it enough thought to begin with. Simple things like Nathan's happiness and temporary melancholy when Jared was chosen for his school football squad were caused by his feelings of inadequacy. After sitting him down, Sophia and I explained that since his brother will always be older than him, he couldn't be expected to possess his brother's abilities. Not that he was nasty or spiteful about any of this, he understood what we were saying. Furthermore, my younger child wasn't constantly envious of the older one. There were other instances where the opposite occurred. Jared, for example, was never particularly good at using ladies as a social tool. In such way, he was a shy and anxious youngster. Nathan, on the other hand, spoke up more. Jared would become frustrated and feel excluded since he would always get lucky with girls, but Jared would not. After that, my spouse and I would go give him advice. My point is that, although we weren't flawless, we were still what I would call a typical family. We had our fair share of arguments and difficult days, but we worked them out, and most importantly, we were there for one another through good times and bad. Jared's demeanor changed dramatically once he departed for college. He started going out to clubs, partying, and being more outgoing as he was finally coming out of his shell. Although Sophia and I were taken aback by the shift, we were overjoyed for him. He met Haley, his current ex-girlfriend, while attending college. He was reportedly enamored with her the moment he laid eyes on her, even though she was 2 years his junior. Although I'm not aware of the specifics of their connection, I do know that he brought her into the family sometime around the 2-year mark, when Haley was 22, and he was 20. Sophia and I both thought she was a kind and friendly girl. Jared appeared to be content with her, and the two of them had a nice experience together. Jared returned to me later that day and told me she was the love of his life, and he was certain that she was the woman he would wed. In addition to telling him that I liked Haley, I expressed my happiness for him. As a father, though, I would have advised him to wait a little before proposing and to not rush things. I informed him that while they were still young, their perspectives and ideas may shift as they became older. Therefore, it was crucial for him to be absolutely certain that they were long-term compatible rather than merely infatuated. Over the following year and a half, we had a few more encounters with Haley. Nathan was not at home at this moment. By then, both of my boys had attended colleges in different states. Nathan did not meet Haley since he was unable to make it at that time. After 9 months, Jared and Haley began to experience issues. Not that he would talk about it with us, but he simply stopped inviting her around and appeared anxious all the time. He would just respond that they were going through a difficult time whenever we asked him what the issue was. He remained silent, and my spouse and I were aware not to pressurize him to divulge something he didn't feel comfortable with. We learned that Jared and Haley had split up a few months later. For a while, Sophia and I visited him frequently to help him process his loss, since he was so distraught. She was his first girlfriend, and he had a terrible time moving on from her. He never responded to our repeated questions about the cause behind the separation. It took him a year or more to move on from her after their little over 4-year romance ended. Sophia and I are glad that he is now dating Miriam, F26, and that he appears content and at ease with her. In contrast, Nathan had several partnerships and liaisons. He was never steady or earnest enough to commit to the point where he would genuinely put us in touch with someone. Since he was an adult and we believed he understood what he was doing, we decided to let him be. We were unaware, though, that Jared had been attempting to avoid being around Nathan ever since he broke up with Haley. In retrospect, I see what was going on, even though at the time it never occurred to us, and we just assumed it was coincidence. Jared stopped going to family gatherings and spent less time at home. We never put any pressure on him because he was an introvert and didn't particularly enjoy these get-togethers. He used to send us tickets and arrange for us to travel to his location, but he stopped coming home. This continued. And Sophia and I were completely unaware that there was a grave problem with our boy. I had reminded him a few times that he was supposed to arrive, but he would always come up with an excuse and blame it on his hectic schedule. Nathan's actions, nevertheless, didn't alter. He often returned home, and we never had. The impression that relations between him and Jared were stressful. Only a few days ago, Nathan gave us some news that revealed everything. He expressed his desire to present us to someone, and he hoped Sophia and I would be open to him. Since this was the first time he was presenting us to his girlfriend, we were both really excited. We had been excited to see her, but when I realized who she was, it was if someone had torn out my vocal cords. I had absolutely no idea what to say. He revealed to us that Haley and he were getting married, and that he intended to present us to her when he returned home with Haley. For a few minutes, at least, Sophia and I couldn't stop gazing at them both. Though I could see by the expression on his face that he was taking it very seriously, there was a part of me that laughed and believed it was some sort of elaborate practical joke on us. Whether Jared knew or not was the first thing that escaped my lips. Nathan mentioned that Jared had been aware of this for some time and was okay with it, but Haley appeared to be quite uncomfortable. Now that I know my boys so well, I realized there was absolutely no chance that Jared would approve of this. I informed Nathan that I didn't think what he was saying and that he should stop lying. He became enraged with us, accusing us of showing partiality and not being pleased for him. He claimed that even if Haley and Jared are still the same person, Sophia and I are no longer able to look her in the eye since we were so enamored with her when they were dating. He stated he thought we would congratulate him, but we weren't even understanding of his connection, much less encouraging. He said that while we accepted Jared's relationship, we were treating him with double standards by reacting so strongly to it. I informed him that, in my opinion, what he was doing was sinful and that it could not be justified. I looked back expecting Sophia to support me, but she was nowhere to be seen. She returned downstairs 5 minutes later, gathered all of Nathan's essential paperwork, and flung them in his face, warning him not to look at her ever again. He said that while he had come to ask us to his wedding, we weren't deserving of an invitation. I said that one of my greatest fears would be to attend a wedding like that. I was relieved that he was withdrawing his invitation because we had no intention of going. I simply gazed in shock behind him as he rushed out with Haley and Sophia. Sophia had phoned Jared. By the time I had a chance to figure out what had happened. When she questioned him about it, he said that they had split up because Haley had cheated on him with Nathan. He said that at first he was only aware of her infidelity with someone else, and not that she had cheated on him with Nathan. Jared stated that despite their best efforts, the incident continued to trouble him, and he came to the realization that he did not want to spend the rest of his life in this state. She kept clearly refusing to tell him who the affair partner was, even though he asked her to. Jared made the decision to end their relationship since he was feeling the effects of all this stress. He found out his own brother was the person his girlfriend had cheated on him with 2 months after they split up, at which point she had already started dating Nathan. When I asked him whether he had ever discussed this with Nathan, he said that he had. In response, he questioned him why he had done so, stating that although Haley was not family in the end, he could still expect her to pull off an act like this, but never Nathan. All Nathan could say in response to him was that everyone acts shabbily when they fall in love. The two brothers have not talked to each other since that point. When I questioned Jared why he never confided in us, he told me that it was a personal matter for him and he didn't believe it would have been right to include us. He also added that he didn't want us to think ill of him. It crushed my heart to hear him insist on being the bigger guy even though he was the one who had been harmed. With tears in my eyes, I expressed my regret for not being a better parent to him, and for not probing the years-long divide between him and Nathan. Sophia and I are still in disbelief that Nathan and Haley visited us 3 days ago. We had made up our minds not to go to the wedding. I informed her that, in my opinion, Nathan and Haley were dead to me, and that I didn't want anything to do with them. Sophia and I both feel that this is the correct thing to do. But Jared advised us not to let this damage our friendship with Nathan. Yesterday, my folks gave me a call. They are Southerners by nature. Furthermore, despite our sparse meetings, we are close. They put up money for both of my kids when they were born, and this was meant to be used for college. That saddened me a little because I thought it was my job as a parent to provide for them, to save money for them, and to make money for them. The boys utilized my finances and ultimately received partial scholarships, so the monies my parents put up are still with them. When they became 21 years old, my father gave them each a sum of money and said they may spend it any way they saw appropriate, with no restrictions. Evidently, Nathan intended to use this money to pay for Haley and him to be married. To give me a hard time over our participation at the wedding, my dad gave me a call. Dad was incensed because Nathan had complained to him about our lack of assistance. During the conversation, he was virtually screaming. He emphasized that he had taught me better than to leave my own child behind, especially on the most significant day of his existence. He remarked that Haley was a beautiful girl, and that I should follow my son's advice rather than making a big deal out of nothing. He sounded quite pissed off, and I was about to lose it too. After what had transpired, I found it hard to think he would now support Nathan and Haley, but as he continued to babble, I came to understand that he did not even fully understand Jared. Drama between Haley and Nathan. Naturally. How could he? Jared hadn't disclosed the information to any family members, and Nathan wasn't the kind to be open and honest about the whole thing. I asked Sophia if we should tell him the truth, or just leave it be as I put the phone on silent. Sophia stated that Jared had to know, or else everyone would be criticizing us and Jared for abandoning family, even though Jared was entirely at fault. Once Dad had finished his rant, I needed to talk to him about something, and I needed him to be open to hearing me out. Then I explained to him that Nathan wasn't present when we met Haley, who was Jared's girlfriend. Next, they discussed the issues they were having in their relationship, and lastly, they discussed the split. When we asked Jared what was going on with the whole Nathan and Haley engagement, we also informed him what he had told us. We filled him in on everything we knew. He didn't trust us at first, accusing us of being biased and fabricating a tale to protect ourselves. He requested that we validate this entire notion for him. Pulling out her phone, Sophia declared that she was positive she had a picture from one of our sessions. After finding it, she forwarded it to Dad. He merely sighed heavily into the phone, said he will get back to us, and remained silent. This morning, Sophia received a call from her father. Their entire conversation, which she related to me, doesn't seem promising for him. Dad called Nathan and Haley after. I spoke with him yesterday to find out if what we were saying was accurate. Nathan attempted to lie and justify himself, but his father called him out. Subsequently, he said that Nathan would not be getting any money from the fund that was established for him. Nathan broke down in tears over the phone, pleading with his grandfather to change his mind. But he refused. He declared that he would not finance a union founded on familial treachery. Then, in a fit of rage, Nathan informed his father that, on his 21st birthday, his father had told him he could spend the money as he pleased, and this was exactly how he planned to spend it. He said that even though he had been promised the money 4 years prior, it was utterly unjust that he was not receiving it. He made an attempt to deceive my father into giving him the money, claiming that it was his right to receive the money and that if he didn't give it to him as he requested, he wasn't a man of his word. My dad has always been a pretty irritable guy, which is the problem with him. He just doesn't have the patience to put up with drama and crap, given his character and current age. It seemed like Nathan was whining the whole time he was on the phone, hoping to intimidate my dad into giving him the money. But it was enough for him. Dad informed him that because he was being so conceited and unrepentant, he had originally believed that he would not give the money for the wedding and would have given it to him to use later. He'd made up his mind not to give him the money at all. He also stated that Jared will now receive this money, stoking the flames. Nathan most likely recognized at that point that he had dug his own grave. It was too late. He began to apologize, stating that he had spoken these things out of rage. Dad refused to give up, and I am certain Nathan will never see a dime of that wealth in his lifetime. In essence, Dad had phoned Sophia to let her know what had happened recently and to express gratitude that we had been honest with him. He claimed that the guilt would have eaten him alive if he had provided the money to Nathan and so indirectly paid for the wedding. In order to expose Nathan and Haley's true identities to the public, he also revealed to us his intention to reveal the family's origins of their connection. The idea scared Sophia a little bit, since she thought Jared may not accept it. She stated he was over this muck and dirt, and that it would be detrimental to him to bring him back into it. But Dad claimed to have previously spoken to Jared, who indicated he was fine with the family knowing and to follow his own judgment. Dad is certain that he will blow this up, and stated he was simply curious if we had any problems. Given that Nathan was no longer with us, Sophia stated she was cool with anything he chose to do. But she promised to speak with me, and let him know what I thought about the situation. I assured her that I was more than satisfied with Dad's choice. I realize this may sound trivial, but I've always found cheating to be disgusting. Knowing that my own kid had an affair with his brother's girlfriend no less made me lose all regard and affection for Nathan. I can't help but think that he could have turned out this way because of anything that went wrong with the way we raised him. I hope that this didn't occur. But I understand that right now, I should put Jared's needs first and not worry about the family's image. The worst-case scenario is that Nathan will be held accountable for his actions by others. And he ought to be condemned and shunned, in my view. He cannot be saved by any amount of atonement. His acts are unforgivable. I'm afraid of what will happen to Jared since I know this will all blow out in a big family drama, but if he's cool with it, I'm not the one to turn him down. I would do anything to get out of this predicament, but as it is, I have no choice. Update 1. Dad forwarded a message to all of us. Here is a copy of the complete message. I've always liked my grandchildren and have made an effort to remain impartial. While I don't claim to have been a hands-on grandfather, Judith and I have always made an effort to provide them the greatest love and care possible. We put money aside for each of the babies, Jared, Nathan, Bianca, Roxana, and Tyler, to use any way they pleased. They requested this, but with an implied disclaimer that none of them would be permitted to use the funds for unethical purposes. When Judith and I met Haley, she looked like a very lovely girl, so I decided to give Nathan this money for their wedding. I was delighted to add to their pleasant existence. You can imagine my surprise when I learned a few days ago that Haley was actually Jared's ex-girlfriend, and that the reason she and Nathan got together was because of her infidelity toward Jared. My initial thought was that this information was too unbelievable to be real. But much to my dismay, that is exactly how things have turned out, and I am now withdrawing my offer to pay for the wedding. I have no claim on that amount at this point. Anything I decide to do with it is entirely up to me. I am also letting you know that I cannot imagine myself being a part of such an unholy relationship, thus I will not be attending the wedding. I felt compelled to provide this information in case Nathan and Haley attempted to discredit me or cast doubt on my morals and values. It is now up to you what you do with this knowledge. We have shared this message with everyone we think is close to us. I have no idea if he has also messaged Nathan and Haley, and I don't care if they are aware of what has happened to them. After receiving the SMS, my sister gave me a call and wanted to know what in the world was going on. I informed her that Sophia and I were just as astonished as everyone else when we learned a few days earlier. It seems sense that she is upset with Nathan, and she has stated that she will not be at the wedding. She exhaled with relief when I told her that Sophia and I would not be attending the wedding either. She had the impression that maybe, just for show, she and I were cool with this or were prepared to put up with Nathan. I informed her that we had cut all communication with him and were no longer in contact with him. She inquired as to whether or not I knew if Nathan had gotten this SMS. I also informed her that I had no idea and wasn't all that interested. I'm not sure whether this text has reached anybody else, and I have no idea how Nathan is going to pay for his wedding. All I know is that I could have nurtured him better. And he is not one of my sons if he has made this decision for himself. Edit. My name is Judith, and my sister's children are Tyler, Roxana, and Bianca. Update 2. There will be no wedding. Exactly 10 days after my dad texted, Nathan returned home. He sobbed in front of us, telling us that we are the cause of his extreme misery. All of the beneficiaries, including several members of the extended family, declined to go to the wedding. Haley was unable to cope with the stress of all the name-calling and humiliation. She canceled the wedding and stopped answering his texts or phone calls. It's not like I wanted to console him or feel sorry for him. Simply put, I had no idea how to get him to stop weeping and leave the home. I'm relieved that I didn't, since I learned that Haley had given her family an entirely different account of what happened. She said that the separation with Jared had occurred a year prior to the event, and that he was aware of her relationship with Nathan and had given his approval. Her stories were believed by all members of her family, but everyone was appalled with her when they learned the truth about their connection. She has experienced familial rejection and disavowal from her parents. Both her friends and her relatives, with whom she is reportedly fairly close, have stopped speaking with her. Jared himself informed me that her pals got along well with him. They spent a lot of time together. Additionally, Haley's friends believed that Jared and Haley had amicably agreed to part up. However, her pals have also abandoned her after her father texted her. Nathan is placing the blame on us while she is sad and alone. He claims that his life was damaged by us and that we had no right being too engaged in it. The individuals they were close to no longer have any sympathy or regard for him or Haley. I informed him that although he would find it more convenient to place the blame on us, the truth was that he dug his own grave when he chose to date his brother's girlfriend. Sophia refused to put up with his attempts to pretend that we were in love. She was quite harsh with him, calling him the sole one at fault, calling him a nasty creature, and expressing her disbelief that her son could have become such a monster. I made another attempt to question him why, with his complete knowledge of Haley and Jared, he decided to pursue her. He said he didn't know the solution, and that Jared was the one who had been harboring resentment for too long, adding that similar incidents continued into adulthood. When I asked him whether he was sorry for shattering his brother's heart, all he could say in answer was that he was sorry that we had destroyed his marriage. At that point, I realized he was hopeless, and no amount of discussion or understanding would cause him to come around. I informed him that my residence would no longer be open to him after this. He was free to leave and do as he pleased, but after what he did, he was no longer welcome in my life. He said that it's amusing how evident it is that we adore Jared more than him. I informed him that we had always treated them equally, but he is a stupid if he believes that we are favoritizing one over the other. I informed him that we are standing by what is right, not by Jared's side. Furthermore, it doesn't make anything right just because he is blind to the fact that what he has done is wrong. It was clear that he was not interested in anything I had to say. With a fierce, lengthy gaze, he strode off. He blocked Sophia and me everywhere after what occurred last night. I can't claim that losing my family and witnessing its disintegration doesn't hurt, but I also feel powerless since I know there is nothing I can do to put it back together. Update 3: a month has passed since the wedding was cancelled. Haley had the nerve to try to get back together with Jared after she and Nathan broke up. She apologized to him over the phone for what she had done and asked if he would want to give her another opportunity. After that, Jared advised us that she could try to pay us a visit and banned her phone. Thankfully, none of those things have occurred. Nathan continues to believe that he is not talking to anybody, or rather, that no one is speaking with him, and that he has done nothing wrong. I don't believe I should be reaching out, but we don't know where he is, and that scares me. That's just the way things are at the moment, and because everything has been accustomed to this, I suppose things will stay this way going forward as well. I had no idea my family would experience something like this, but apparently destiny had other ideas, and all I can do is stick to what I believe to be correct.